Who can tell me what a saint is? What is a saint? Yeah, someone who does the right thing and then gets to heaven. Yes or no? Can someone be so good in their lives that even though they're still down here, they haven't gone to heaven yet, can people think of them as saints? Yes or no? Yes. Sure. Yes, they can. Let me tell you about one of them. Have any of you ever heard of Mother Teresa? Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of people knew Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was so good. I mean, she went to Calcutta, India, and she decided every day, not some days, not most days, every day, she was going to go out and she was going to find the poorest of the poor. Really poor people, people living on the streets, people who had only one set of clothes, those on their backs, people who didn't eat most days. And she went out and she found them and she hugged them and kissed them and she brought food and she fed them, she bathed them so that we get all that grime of the street off of them. And every day she also went out to seek out the sickest of the sick. And she found people that were so sick, they had sores all over their bodies, and they were kind of oozing. And to show her love for those people, she would not only kiss them, she would kiss their sores. And she would bathe them, give them a place to stay, give them food. And because she did those things day after day after day after day, people long before Mother Teresa was canonized a saint, she died and she was canonized a saint this year. She was officially made a saint this year. But long before that, people knew she was a saint because of what she did. Now, there are some people who don't live like Mother Teresa and live really good lives all of their lives. But that's okay. Jesus says we can turn around our lives anytime we want to. And He is going to be pleased. And He will accept us as well. Even those of us who have sinned and done bad things, if we turn around our lives, He'll accept us. And that's what Advent is all about. Advent is supposed to be a time when we turn around our lives. We turn around our lives and we turn the bad into good. This is a story that took place hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago in England. And back then, if you committed a crime, the punishment was really cruel and unusual. And a man by the name of Brandon, he stole some sheep. And let me tell you what the punishment they did for Brandon. They branded into his forehead with a hot iron an S, a period, a T, and a period. Who wants to tell me what those S and T stood for? No, that would be a great guess. But remember what he did. What did he do? He was a sheep thief. Exactly. That's what he was. They wanted to embarrass him. They wanted him to live a terrible life so that people would always be walking past saying, look, there's Brandon, the sheep thief. But it was Advent, and Brandon said, you know, I could go through my whole life being miserable. I could go through my whole life being dejected, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to do good things for everyone. And he did. And people began to love Brandon because he did neat things for everyone. And when Brandon got old, A little boy, his name was Henry, asked his dad, "Dad, what does that S period, T period in Mr. Brandon's forehead stand for?" Now, his dad knew it stood for sheep thief, but because he had spent his entire life after he had stole those sheep being good and helping other people, what did Brandon's dad tell him that stood for? Saint. Yes. He turned his life around. And even though he had done bad things, he was a saint here on earth. And that's what Jesus wants all of us to do. He wants us to be nice to everyone, kind and caring to everyone, and especially to people who have the greatest needs. Jesus tells us, look, if we do nice things to nice people, that's wonderful, but our reward is here on earth. Our reward is going to be nice people doing nice things back to us. If we really want to get to heaven, we have to do nice things to people that we don't like, people who even do bad things to us. We've got to be looking for people who have need of our help. Once upon a time, Sally and Tammy were the best of friends. They were terrific friends. They played all the time. They talked all the time. And one of the things that they talked about was, in Advent, we're supposed to figure out ways that we can make our lives better, things that we're doing wrong, and do those things better, kind of like Brandon did. Well, one day at recess, Sally and Tammy were talking, and Sally said, "Tammy, why don't we go over and play with Vera? Nobody ever plays with Vera. She's always alone. That'd be a good thing to do, don't you think?" And Tammy said, yep, just like all you. Tammy said, yeah, that would be a good thing to do. So they went over and played with Tammy, and Tammy became their friend, and she was no longer lonely. Well, they all lived long lives. Tammy and Vera lived a little bit longer than Vera. Vera went to heaven first. And Sally and Tammy died on the same day when they were both 92 years old. And they got there, and Jesus was standing at the pearly gates. And they said, "Jesus, may we please come in?" And Jesus said, "Well, let me check your record." And he went and checked their record, and he said, "Oh, my goodness. Yes, you may come in. The two of you have been saints under construction all of your lives. You've done wonderful things. And I want to introduce to you one of my saints." And he called, and from around the corner came Vera. And Vera came up to them, and she hugged them, and she said, "Lord, if it wasn't for these two people, I'm not sure I would be in heaven. I'm not sure I'd be a saint. But they helped me out so very, 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 very much." And so the Lord hugged all three of them, and all three of them are now saints. Saint Sally, Saint Tammy, and Saint Vera. Now, how many of you want to become saints? Yep, everybody should want to become a saint, because heaven is just absolutely the most fun, the perfect fun ever. And we get there by living our lives, by helping out other people. And even if we've done something really bad in our lives, like Brandon did, we can change our lives and get to be a saint. So, go back to your moms and dads, your momos and your papas, and tell them how all of us can get to be saints.